I'm Kristen.
And I'm Bethany.
And this is Looking for the Middle,
the Christian Girl's Guide to Modern Dating.
We are just two single girls trying to help you navigate dating well as Christian women.
And welcome back to another episode.
It
catches me off guard every time when we get to the end of that part, and I'm like, I don't know what to say.
We have our full script for that whole intro, and then as soon as I finish that last line, we're like,
the wheels all fall
how
off.
do we go? Okay, so before we jump into the question of the day, which is mine, and I'm very excited about it. So would you rather question, which makes Bethany nervous.
It does make me nervous.
And I love making Bethany nervous. But just a quick reminder.
Not very nice.
I know, but it's a good friend thing to say.
Oh, okay.
Real quick, though, before we get into this question, just a reminder, y'all clearly loved the episode we did on an honest conversation about dating and singleness that came out 2 weeks ago now.
I think so, yeah. It's been very popular.
Yes, and if you hadn't heard already, the exclusive video that we're doing for all of our patrons over on Patreon is going to be an extension of that episode. So if you would like to see that episode, make sure you partner with us. You can go to our website, lookingforthemiddle.com, hit the resources tab at the top, and you can see how you can become a patron and get access to that video.
Yes.
So,
also, while we're on the subject, and I'm kind of calling an audible here, we have not talked about this yet.
Okay, great.
I've been looking at, we had told everyone from the Halloween special that we'd put the full audio of us going through that on Patreon so people could hear, but it is a monster of a file. It's huge.
Oh, is it not going to go up?
Well, that, and I'm just being honest, I don't think anyone wants to listen to it. So,
if you really want to, just DM us and we'll send you a copy.
We'll send you a link. But what I was going to say is, since we did promise them that, we we'll work on something else to put up there for everyone this week. We'll get something out there. I don't know. What could it be? Let's brainstorm for a second.
Gosh.
Or if you guys have something that you would love to hear.
Yeah.
Or you need tips on, let us know. We'll work on some sort of resource for everyone this week to kind of
bonus gift.
Yes,
for our
make
patrons.
up for our boring audio of trying to figure that thing out.
Murder box.
It was not as interesting as I was hoping. So,
yes, well,
anyway, I didn't want to leave you guys hanging on that.
Good call. Okay, so question of the day.
Yes.
Would you rather have a life rewind button or a life pause button?
Ooh.
I know.
I totally thought you were going to say life rewind or life fast forward.
Nope. Rewind or pause?
Rewind.
Okay. Why?
I mean, I can't even think of anything super specific, but everyone has something they'd love to go back and do differently. Well, wait, can you keep the knowledge you have now?
Sure.
So, yeah, I'm sure. I don't know where I'd want to rewind to exactly, but go back. Everyone has something they wish they would do differently.
Yeah.
Because, pause, like, what would that look like?
Like, I viewed it more as not time stand still, but just like you stay in the environment that you're in for longer than you might be able to if life just continued. You see what I'm saying?
Oh. I still say rewind.
I thought rewind too, because my thinking is, because of course, as this will shock no one, my thought is like, oh, if I had a pause button, I could pause on my wedding day and just like let it sit as long as I wanted.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, if I had a rewind button, I could go back to it as many times as I wanted to. So.
Oh, you can use this more than once?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, definitely rewind then. Oh, no brainer.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Do you know do they have those on Amazon?
I don't know, but we can look.
Okay.
Maybe they'll go on sale on Black Friday.
Kind of like those easy buttons you used to get from like Staples. That was easy.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. That was a fun one.
That was a fun one.
And it didn't make me sweat too much.
Oh, good.
Would you rather questions normally make me a little nervous?
Yes.
Okay. So today we're kind of combining CouchCast and regular episodes. Don't worry, we're still going to have a CouchCast on Friday. But today we're talking about flirting. And we have gotten several specific questions about flirting that instead of talking about flirting in CouchCast for a month in a row, we thought let's combine them, put them in a full episode, and we'll answer them like CouchCast, kind of off the cuff. But at the end, we've got some detailed outlined flirting.
Foundations of flirting.
There you go. So we'll talk about some of that too. But let's kind of start with our first question. You want me to read it?
Yes, I would love that.
Okay. Someone had emailed us or DM'd us. Doesn't matter. They sent us a question that says, where do you draw the line between flirting and friendly teasing? So Kristen, kick us off.
Oh gosh. Okay. So this actually came from an email from a listener. She's a sophomore in high school.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And she was just the sweetest thing. And I went back and forth with her a couple times. And we'll get into more of her story as we answer this question. But I thought this was a great question because this is something that I struggled with in high school and really had to kind of work through as I matured and figuring out, because I am just kind of a shameless, like, oblivious flirt at times.
And then at other times, not so oblivious.
Then, yes, other times it's super intentional. I think the main thing that comes to my mind is whether or not I flirted or teased or whatever the guys that I was around, I always treated the guy I had a crush on differently.
True.
So I think there's this line of, and it's a really murky line, like there's no cut and dry, really, I don't think, answer to this question necessarily, but I think that the first step is, if you can't really tell a difference in the way you're interacting with all of your guy friends, but there is one of them that you like, maybe step back and think, okay, I want to make sure this guy knows I like him.
Right.
And I don't want him to see me interacting with all these other guys the same way. Because I would do that too out of a nervous habit of like, oh, I don't want to make
I don't want him to know that I'm flirting with him.
But I do want him to know, so I'm going to go flirt with all these other people. But make the distinction of, hey, I'm going to treat you a little differently. I'm going to talk to you a little differently. Yes. I'm going to single you out a little bit more. And then, I may make a side comment here and there about my guy friends, but the frequency of it and the extent of it needs to be different.
Yes. And I think the answer to how you do that is not flirt with everyone and then just flirt with the guy you're interested in more.
No.
If you're having trouble, like, making that distinction, the answer is to not flirt with everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to just be this shameless high school flirt.
Right.
And I think this is a refining process. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter what we say, you will get better at it the older you get.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it which is helpful, but not at the same time. Right. I know.
What would you say, though, to, like, I mean, you think about us, we're super sarcastic and we make fun of people. That's how we interact with people. So how do you, I don't want to just never be able to be funny and whatever with my guy friends, but I also want to be like, oh, hey, by the way, like, I'm not interested in you. And I don't want you to think that. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah. I think what you have to do with that, and I'm just thinking about how I interact with guys who are just my friend and then guys that I want to be more than just my friend. I think what you have to do there, and again, this just comes with doing it, when it's the guy you're interested in, you take the sarcasm and the funny and the teasing, but you couple it with a different flirting technique.
Okay.
Does that make sense? My guy friends who are just my guy friends and we're just whatever, I'll be sarcastic and funny and give him a hard time, and that's it. But with the guy that I like, I'll tease him, but I'll,
the arm
touch him on his arm or kind of elbow him, or
Bethany's signature move.
Or, you laugh and while you're giving him a hard time. So I think that's the difference there.
Okay. I like that.
You kind of soften the blow of your teasing. Whereas with
you just don't hold back.
Whatever, dude.
You're like, I'm just going to, mess with you or whatever.
Exactly.
But, okay, no, I like
I
like that a lot.
Okay.
I think if it gets to a point where there's some murkiness here, be straight up with your guy friends if you're not interested. So the story that the listener told us that sent in this question, she said that her and several of her friends were on this group text. And they're all talking on this group text, and then separately some of the girls on the text texted her and was like, they were like, hey.
Oh, the side text.
Right. They were like, hey, do you like so-and-so because you're flirting with him? And she was like, oh my gosh, no, I don't like him. I didn't even realize that I was coming across that way. So if you're in a similar situation where your friends are like, hey, do you like so-and-so? Or, hey, you're really flirting with whoever. It's okay for you to talk to the guy and be like, hey, I'm so sorry if I came across this way. Yeah. I didn't mean to. And what I loved about this particular listener is her and the guy had this conversation. They went and talked about it, which I'm like,
more
for a
power
sophomore in high school, I was so impressed because I know 20s and 30-year-old people who wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
They would just avoid it.
Yep.
And so the fact that they had the conversation and were able to clear the air, now they can move forward and they know, okay, hey, we're just friends and this is all innocent and I'll be more cautious and more aware of how I'm talking to you.
And now that way, if their friends are like constantly like, ooh, do you like them, or what's going on, or whatever, they both have the confidence and the clarity to say, no, I don't, he doesn't, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and then everybody leaves you alone.
Exactly.
So
Yes, that's all you have to do. If someone's like giving you a hard time about it, just tell them.
Yeah.
I don't like them.
Yeah. And that's it. So I think if it gets down to the point where you need to have that clarifying conversation, then do so, because it'll just make things a lot easier. But I think, like Bethany said, drawing the line is when you're flirting with a guy, you're teasing him in addition to other things. Yeah. Whereas if you're just teasing a guy, you're just going to mess with him. And I would just add, and I know I think I said this a minute ago, just the frequency of it.
Yes.
You should be teasing and messing with the guy you like more than you're teasing and messing with guys you don't like.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And we're going to talk more once we get through the questions here at the beginning about specific ways to flirt and how to let a guy know you're interested and all that fun stuff. Yes. So I think that kind of sums up the first question. So let's move on to the second one, which was, and we kind of talked about it a little, but I think let's get into a little more detail. It's what do I do if I'm worried my kindness / humor might be perceived as flirting? And I think there's kind of two different aspects to this question in what if it's perceived that way and I'm trying to, or if it's perceived that way and I'm not. Like, if you're flirting. So if you're flirting with someone and you're worried that they're going to think you're flirting with them because you don't actually like them, well, that's one thing. But if you aren't flirting with them and you're worried they think you are going to, why are you worried that they're going to think that?
I feel like that means deep down you kind of know you're flirting.
Right. So then you have to say, do I like them or do I not? Yeah. And if you don't, you got to cut it out.
Well, because there is a difference between liking someone and enjoying flirting. Let's make that distinction right now. Totally. Bethany and I will both be very honest and say that flirting is very fun.
It is.
And the older you get, the better you get at it, so it becomes more fun. So I think about some of my flirting tactics from like 10 years ago. I'm like, dear gracious, Kristen.
Rewind button.
Yeah, the rewind button would come in super handy. But it is fun, and it is, it's a great, fun thing to do. But
use it wisely.
Yes, and don't use it to the detriment of someone else's feelings.
Oh, totally. And I would say whether you're texting someone or whether it's even in person, if you have to pause and think about what you're about to do, whether it's before you hit send, whether it's before you say something, you have to think about it and be like, oh, should I not? Should I send this? I don't know. Don't, because you probably are flirting. Mm-hmm. You are. Yeah. And if that's not the impression you're wanting to give, then don't do it. Even if it's fun or it's really funny, this comeback you have, but you're getting a little flirty, just don't do it.
Yeah. Or if you're really unsure and you don't trust your own judgment, which I've been in that state, send it to a friend and be like, hey, this is kind of what I was thinking about saying. Is this going to come across as flirty? Yeah. And get someone you trust to weigh in, and they can say, yeah, Kristen, that's super flirty. Don't say that. Or, no, I don't think that's weird. Think that's fine. Can go ahead and send it. Uh-huh. This is what girlfriends are for, people.
Yes.
Among a lot of other things, but this is a really great perk.
Really, really great one. Have them be your gatekeeper.
Yes.
A little bit.
Exactly. So, like Bethany said, just pause and take the time to think. This is not one of those times that you need to be speed texting and hitting send immediately when you are trying to figure out if you're walking this line appropriately.
I would say, too, if this is a question you're asking because you're sitting there going, oh my word, why does this always happen? Why do they always think I'm flirting? If this is something that is a pattern in your life of people thinking you're flirting with them when you're not, you may need to change up your humor, change up how you do things. Like, it's not just, oh, well, I wasn't flirting. It's, how did it come across, too? Mm-hmm. So if this is a pattern you see in your life, you might need to do some evaluating of your interactions.
Yes, perception is key here.
Okay. All right. So, question number 3, and this is a fun one.
This is a fun one. I'm excited about this one.
How to flirt and not to flirt over texting.
Don't I wish I knew?
Yeah, for real.
I have some ideas.
Yes, we've got some.
But it's only because of trial and error.
Very much so. We have felt very awkward so that you don't have to. Yes. Let's just put it that way.
That should be our tagline. Feeling awkward so you don't have to. We're just two single girls trying to figure out how to navigate dating well and feel awkward for you so that you don't have to. Yes. We'll add that. Since we struggle with our intro, we'll just add that.
I love it. Okay, so my first thing that I would say is be consistent, but not over the top or annoying. Like, if you're flirting with someone over text, be consistent in doing it. Kind of stay on their radar, I guess. But don't be clingy. Don't be stalkery. Don't be over the top. And you know when you're doing that.
Yeah, don't send like 5 text messages at one time.
No.
As far as like the rapid fire, blow up his phone. If you're just trying to let him know. We talk about let him know you're interested without pursuing or making the first move or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
This is one of those times where, you're texting him pretty frequently. Again, not annoyingly, but commonly enough to where it's a consistent pattern. That's great.
I think just texting someone consistently, whether the actual content of the text is super flirty, is an effective way to show interest. So I don't know if that's technically flirting or not, but I think that's a really good way to do that. And I will say this. You may have times where you think of like several really funny or cute things to say all at once, like all on the same day. Don't send them all on the same day. Save them up a little, space it out, remember that really funny thing, and then pull an, I thought of this the other day and you came to mind or whatever, and then send it.
Think about when you take like a bunch of really cute pictures in the same day. You're not going to post them all on Instagram at once.
Exactly.
You're going to want to save them so that you just get all of the bandwidth out of it as possible.
Exactly.
So think of this in the same way.
Well, and from that same standpoint, if you're texting a guy, and let's say y'all don't normally text a lot, so you're wanting to kind of distinguish that this is different, and you're wanting to start a conversation, start a dialogue that's going to last multiple text messages, don't ask him everything you want to know all in the first message. Hold back a little so that when he responds, you've got follow-up questions ready to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm super guilty of this because this is how I text my girlfriends. I can put 5 questions in one message and they'll go through and answer every single one of them for me. But with a guy, so let's say, for example, he, plays, or maybe he coaches a little league team or something. Yeah. And instead of saying, oh my gosh, how was the game? Did y'all win? How'd you do? Was the weather good? Blah, blah. Just like, hey, thought about you this weekend. How'd the game go?
Yep.
And then he responds. And then you can come back and say, oh, that's so awesome. Did y'all play well? Do you feel like it went well? He just responds again. Like, that's so great. And then there's a conversation. And then you can insert another question or two if the conversation progresses.
Yes.
Now, caveat here, and I really am guilty of a lot of things in this episode. I'm learning. I need to take my own advice. Or your advice. If you have to ask a question every single message just to keep the conversation going, that may be a sign that he may not be interested. But I would wait and see if it's a pattern, not just, there's this one day and he wasn't really into the conversation. He may have been busy. He may have been having a bad day. But...
Well, and know his texting style, too.
Yeah.
Because
guys
that'll factor in
way differently. But I think what my strategy, if you will, is if I'm starting the conversation, I'll ask the first couple questions, and then if he responds, I'll respond with a statement. That's a, meaty statement. It's not just, oh, that's cool, or something. And give him the chance to respond and either continue the conversation or ask me a question. And if he just responds by like ha-haing my message or sending an emoji.
The double tap on that's a conversation killer. If you get that, let it go.
Then just let it go. So as they say, read the room and know, okay, he seems really engaged or he doesn't. Because whether you want to admit it or not, how he's responding to this. So...
Well, and some of it's going to be how quickly he responds and all of those things, too. And I will shout it from the rooftops. Don't make any final judgments about whether or not a guy likes you solely based on how he responds to text message or a text message. But if there's a consistent pattern of just being disinterested or taking forever or, oh, hey, sorry, I forgot to respond, that will tell you a lot, I think.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to kind of circle back to that you said, though, you were saying guys just text totally differently. And they do, from girls especially, but then I feel like guys have a whole lot more options of texting styles than girls do.
Yes.
Like, there's variations from girl to girl as far as, like, how you text. But at least in my experience, for the most part, girls kind of all text the same.
That's so true.
There's stuff that just applies to all girls no matter what.
That's a great point.
But then when it comes to guys, they're all over the place.
That's so true.
You know what I mean? Like, some guys are real chatty. They're sending gifts and they're talking constantly. And, like, I'm just thinking about, like, guys I've dated or talked to in the past. And there's others where I'm like, I feel like we had a really good time on our date. And especially, like, early on. But I'm like, but he's, like, totally not really talking. And then we go out again. Everything's great. I'm like, what is going on?
Yes.
I think there's a certain element of you've got to kind of know his texting style and then work within that, because it's a whole different ballgame for guys than it is for girls. Because I'll get things back and I'm like, he's so annoyed. Like, there was no punctuation and there was no... And then I'm like, oh, wait. That only is for girls, more or less.
Definitely. That's a great point.
So, yeah.
I'm glad you pointed that. I never really thought about that, but there is a really broad...
Yeah.
Because I've dated guys who, like, are super short and to the point and just would rather talk on the phone or in person. And I've texted guys who text girlier than me and are using, like, 18 emojis.
Well, and that's... Yeah, sometimes when you're interested in someone and they're interested, or you're dating, you have the just steady conversation all day long. And then other guys are very much just... I call it utilitarian texting, where all they want to text about is, you know, where are we meeting, what time... Very logical and practical, and that's it.
It's the in-between communication between, here I just saw you, and when am I seeing you next?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
If that's not helpful.
Yeah, really.
Sorry about that.
Good luck, guys. Okay, so we've talked about these 3 questions that we got from listeners. So let's finish out this conversation with just some foundations of flirting that we have made ourselves.
Okay, so let's start with, first, there are some universal things that you can do to flirt that apply to everyone. This is just flirting 101, basically. Yes. So let's go through those real quick. But I do want to spend some time talking about, because I don't think this is talked about a ton, of, like, flirting specifically with the guy you're flirting with and the subjectivity to that.
Okay.
So let's talk first. Okay, so there's some very universal things you can do to flirt. Laugh at what he says. Mm-hmm. And make sure he knows you're laughing at what he said.
Yes.
Like, touch his arm.
Yep.
Play with your hair.
Oh, yeah. My favorite is you make eye contact with him and then you look away and smile. Like,
yes.
I saw you and now I'm going to look away.
Yes.
Or you turn in your seat towards him.
I do this one a lot without even thinking.
Yeah. Or if you walk into a room and there are a bunch of seats available, go sit next to him. Don't sit across the room and hope you make eye contact. Like, go have a little boldness and have some courage and go sit next to him. So, there are a lot of different things you can do.
And you all know those.
Oh, yeah. I mean, watch enough rom-coms. You'll pick up a few tips.
Yes.
But, like you said, Bethany, there is a huge component of flirting that is specific to the guy you're flirting with.
Yep.
Not just the generic do's and don'ts of flirting. So, let's talk about those.
Yeah, I think you have to pay attention. Flirting starts kind of like we talked about last week. Getting ready for a first date starts way before you get asked out. Flirting starts way before you're actually flirting, too. So pay attention to him, pay attention to things he likes, pay attention to things that he doesn't like, things that he thinks are funny, things that he tells you about. Just pay attention.
Yeah, because, I mean, if you really break it down to its most simplest, there's your English for you. Its simplest form, flirting is a lot of times just a form of communication or a filter that you use to communicate through. You can't flirt without communicating.
Right.
So...
Well, and you have to have something to communicate is the point. Like, you've got to have something that you're communicating flirtatiously.
Yeah, flirting is way more about your delivery, your demeanor, your body language. It's kind of what is accompanying whatever you're saying.
Yes. And that's what I think one of the most powerful ways to flirt, and you tell me what you think, I would say by a mile, is inside jokes.
Oh, amen. I love a good inside joke.
As Michael Scott would say, I'd love to be a part of one someday.
That is one of the best lines. I mean, that show has so many good lines, but golly. So good.
So, in order to have an inside joke, you have to pay attention to what he says and remember it and jump on chances to make something an inside joke.
And we're just, we're saying inside jokes as an example. That's not the only way you can go about this, because not all guys will respond to a lot of teasing and sarcasm.
Sure.
A lot of guys will, but there are a lot of guys who won't. So if he's not kind of playfully giving it back to you, when you're trying to, mess with him, then try a different tactic. And it's fine. You can experiment a little bit here because every guy is different. And he's going to respond differently. He's going to think different things are funny. So, again, though, that comes from being around him and spending time with him and getting to know him.
And we can't tell you, play by play of how to do that.
Yeah.
You've so just got to get to know him. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing, and this is not the fun part, but we are talking about the foundations of flirting. And one of the foundational things to know with flirting is knowing when to stop.
Bethany literally asked me, she's like, is it bad if we include this? I'm like, no, I think it's important that we include this.
So, deep down, if your flirting is being reciprocated or not. And if it's not, after a few times of trying, you probably just need to back off. As not fun as that is. Don't you think?
I think so, because, if it's one time that you just feel like you were flirting with a brick wall, then you can try again. I wouldn't say just, I flirted with him one time and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
Because you never know what his mindset, circumstances, what a day had been like, any of that. But if it's a pattern consistently that he is not flirting back when you're trying to flirt with him, then you, like Bethany said, should probably pull back. Because, as we continue to say, if a guy wants to flirt with you, he will flirt with you.
Yeah. And this kind of goes full circle back to what we were talking about at the very beginning about that fine line between flirting and being consistent, but then not being stalkery and, over the top.
Yeah.
And this is where this comes in. If it's not working, if you're flirting in person and it's not working, well, don't start texting him trying to be all flirty, because that's not going to work either. Or if you don't see him as much, don't check up on him. Be like, oh, why weren't you there? Oh, we missed you. Or, oh, whatever. Just let it go.
Yeah, there's a fine line between being interested and being creepy. And you all know we talk about on here, it's rule number 1, don't be creepy. Yes. So just be aware and be honest with yourself. Once again, if you don't trust your own judgment, talk to somebody who you trust and say, hey, this is what we've been saying. This is what I've been saying. Here's how he's responding. Do you think I need to stop?
Yeah. Whatever you do, don't Google it.
No. Oh my gosh. We were trying to Google in preparation for a different episode, and it was a terrible rabbit hole.
There's just so much conflicting advice, so much bad advice about flirting in general.
Yes.
So the best thing you can do, like you were saying, is talk to someone who knows you and knows him and go from there.
Yeah.
And then, take their advice, even if it's not exactly what you want to hear a lot of times, too.
Yeah. And I think the last thing I'll say, it really all boils down to, and we've talked to multiple guys, multiple times, multiple different ways, asked the question different ways, what's the best way a girl can show she's interested? And every single time I feel like we ask this question, the first answer they give is just be around him. Be where he is.
Yep.
Spend time with him. And so, you can send him flirty text messages and you can, comment on his Instagram pictures and whatever. You can bat your eyelashes from across the room and smile and look away. But the best thing you can do is be around him and spend time with him and
do
get
all of
to
those
know
things
him.
in person.
Yes, in-person interaction is your best bet. And especially if you want to stand out.
Yes.
That is going to be how you do that. So don't sell that short.
No.
Or, I know that when you like somebody, it can be really scary at first to interact with them in person, but don't hide behind your phone or your friends or anything else. Again, have the boldness and the courage to spend that time with him and show him you're interested in person.
Yeah, it may be easier to do that over the phone or via text or whatever, but it's more effective in person.
Definitely.
It always leaves more of an impact. So that, if you're listening to what we've said and you're like, I could never do that, or I don't want to do that, or I'm not that bold, or whatever reason it is, start with just being around where he is.
Yeah.
And go from there.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine.
You can build.
Exactly.
You can build up. This doesn't have to be a drastic overnight change.
Oh, no. Yeah,
but
you can work up to it.
Yes, for sure. Okay, guys, well, that's all we have for our Foundations of Flirting episode. Thanks to all of our listeners who sent in these questions.
Yeah, they were good ones.
We actually ended up moving an episode from this season to next season.
Yes, so we could do this.
So we could do this episode because it had just been such a frequent topic of questions recently that we've gotten. So we hope y'all enjoy this. We hope it was clearer than mud and semi-helpful. We will be back on Friday with another CouchCast. So until then, I'm Kristen.
And I'm Bethany.
And this is Looking for the Middle.